Welcome to the Kentucky Avery tutorial on co-teaching. My name is Tara Beth Hall and I'm a consultant with Kentucky Avery. Today I will share another example of an effective practice that benefits all students in an inclusive setting. This module fits under the effective practice for inclusive settings in Tier 1. Since co-teaching is such a large topic, our goal in this module is to provide you with an understanding of co-teaching that includes rationales for co-teaching, a definition of co-teaching, 6 models of co-teaching, key considerations for implementing co-teaching, and resources to further investigate this topic. First, let's discuss some rationales for using co-teaching at your school. You may ask, why all the buzz around a co-teaching model? Here are a few reasons why this service delivery option is growing in popularity in the education world. It is a fact that federal law has set high standards for academic outcomes for all students. However, imagine that you are held to a standard without having access to the content. That is the case for many students in special education. Therefore, one benefit of co-teaching is that all students have access to the general education curriculum and are taught by teachers who have specific content expertise. Although Marilyn Friend points out that co-teaching is not a requirement for inclusion to occur, it is an inclusive practice. This means that co-teaching embraces the belief that all students are valued members of a learning community. One of the most important rationales for co-teaching is that students and teachers benefit from a two-teacher classroom. Co-teaching allows special education teachers to share their knowledge and expertise in specially designed instruction. When content teachers and special education teachers share knowledge and skills, the end result is an increased learning for all students. Let's take a minute to define co-teaching. Co-teaching is a service delivery option. Co-teaching is a way of providing specially designed instruction to students with disabilities and giving them access to the general curriculum. Students with disabilities can receive their individual accommodations and modifications within the realm of a general education classroom in a co-teaching model. 2 or more professionals with equivalent licensure and employment status are the participants in co-teaching. Co-teaching is based on parity. When paraprofessionals assist in classrooms, though valuable, it is considered support rather than co-teaching. An ideal co-teaching model would have a content specialist or a general education teacher and a specialist in specially designed instruction or a special education teacher. Co-teachers share instructional responsibility and accountability for a single group of students for whom they both have ownership. Perhaps the most significant concept for co-teaching is the belief of a 2-teacher classroom rather than a 1-teacher classroom. Now let's review the 6 co-teaching models. According to Friend, the most recommended model is station teaching. Marilyn Friend suggests the use of this model frequently. Station teaching is where teachers divide the content and students rotate to each station. Teachers then provide direct instruction of the content at their station. Oftentimes, a 3rd station can be established with a paraprofessional or even an independent station. Teachers instruct at stations based on their individual strengths. At the elementary level, this may be known as centers, but the instructional practice still remains the same. Another model that Friend suggests to use on a frequent basis is parallel teaching. In this model, students are divided into groups by professionals and instruction is delivered to both groups. An advantage of parallel teaching is that the teacher-student ratio allows for more students to receive attention by an educator. In this co-teaching approach, students receive the same objective but in a smaller group. This does not mean that regular education students are in one group and all students with disabilities are in another group. Teachers must strive to offer equivalent instruction in both student groups. A challenge for this model is noise level, because 2 teachers are teaching and students are responding at the same time. It is imperative for the success of this model that voice levels are instructed and utilized. Teaming can be used in all content areas and all grade levels. Friend recommends the use of teaming occasionally. In this model, both teachers are in front of the class and share the responsibility of leading instruction. It is important that both teachers in this model are fully engaged in the delivery of academic instruction. A challenge for this model is it may not be as impactful due to the continuation of whole group instruction. This model heavily relies on the professional relationship of the teachers. For example, if both teachers like to talk a lot, the co-teaching model of teaming may provide a challenge. The next co-teaching model is known as alternative teaching. Marilyn Friend recommends the use of this model occasionally. In this model, one teacher manages the large group while the other takes a small group for a more specific instructional purpose. Small group lessons are conducted in the midst of the large classroom. This is an excellent model for both content reteaching and enrichment. This option works especially well if students have been absent or the content is not being understood. It is important to be certain that the small group is not dubbed as a pull-out group of students with disabilities. Teachers need to be strategic in how grouping is done. The final co-teaching model outlined by Marilyn Friend is one teach and one assist. This model is recommended for seldom use, but is still worth mentioning. In this model, one teacher leads the instruction while the other monitors student work, addresses behavior issues, or answers any student questions. An advantage of this model is that the teacher that is assisting can often detect if a concept is misunderstood by a student or students, and then they may ask the lead instructor to clarify. Also, in this model, the teacher assisting can detect student questions by a student signal, especially if a student is hesitant to raise his or her hand and ask a question in front of the whole class. A downside to this model is that it has the capability to be overused and/or used incorrectly. This model alone does not exemplify what co-teaching can actually do for quality instruction. Finally, let's consider some key issues when implementing co-teaching. There are a few basic items to consider in building a successful co-teaching classroom. First, as with most anything in education, teachers must have administrative support. It is imperative for all parties involved to believe in this model of instruction. Administrators must possess the core belief that all students can learn in an inclusive model. Be sure to check out the link in the resources section titled An Administrator's Guide to Co-Teaching. Secondly, common planning is an essential element in co-teaching. Teachers need this shared time to adequately plan instruction and build on each other's strengths. Administrators will have to support this common planning time in the school's master schedule. Also, regular education teachers and special education teachers should be paired strategically. Co-teaching is only successful if individual strengths are utilized. Lastly, schools should start small. Many special education teachers work in a variety of classes. When starting this model, start with one class to be the model and build upon the success of that class. Building a strong co-teaching classroom is a process and takes time to be perfected. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial, and please take some time to explore the additional resources within this module.